Hey y'all, so I'm just going to dive right into another reading here. So we have replenish at the bottom of the deck here. I feel like that's very indicative of the energy where you are now. This is from the Anchored deck. This is by Margot Feldman. You can find them on Instagram at softcore_trauma, and they're fabulous. They're a great creator. But this deck is really wonderful. We also have the magic card coming out on the split. And I really think that like there's this sense of like wanting to focus on just replenishing and rebuilding your sense of magic and wonder, of wondrousness in the world. Or like there's something about how like you have maybe fallen into this place of oh no, darkness. No. You've fallen into this place of maybe where you've started to feel like you're missing out on the magic that is all around you. You know, that like maybe there was this sense of magic and wonderment and things were working out and flowing, and then all of a sudden like something happened and then everything went dark and you're like, whoa. Look, the Justice card coming out on the split. So I feel like there is some rebalancing happening, some grand rebalancing. I just got wow, sorry, I just got a scent of like incense or something. It wasn't this deck. That is so interesting. Magic. There's a lot of beauty in the world, and there's a lot of magic in the world, and there's also pain and suffering. Let's not, sugarcoat it. But there's something about you needing to like replenish yourself so that you can see the beauty and the magic all around you again. That there's something that kind of threw you off balance. You're feeling a little bit weak, a little vulnerable. Maybe like, you're kind of like, maybe disappointed, maybe just kind of off your game. Ooh, and then we have the Judgment card coming out. So I feel like some situation has occurred. We have the King of Wands in reverse, where maybe somebody abused their power, or maybe they, I'm just getting a lot from this. So maybe they abused their position with you, and maybe they trampled on you a little bit. And now I feel like they're facing judgment. And of course, we don't want to be victims here. I'm not trying to encourage you to feel like a victim, but I am trying to say that maybe somebody kind of, I don't know, squeezed you a little bit too much, squeezed you dry. Okay. Ooh, Ten of Swords in reverse. And I feel like this is a situation that's coming to an end or has come to an end. And I think this person is feeling the pain of that ending. You have 3 swords in this person's back. So it really is reminding me of the 3 of Swords. And I think this person is like really hoping for for this cycle to end. We have the World coming out, and for like a new beginning with you. But we have the Wheel of Fortune reversed at the bottom of the deck. So all I'm saying is that, things sometimes don't always work out the way we want them to. Ooh, and then we have the Ace of Pentacles coming out in reverse. So I feel like, ooh, then we have the Ace of Cups. But I feel like there's a lot of love here too. And I feel like love is a really interesting thing when it comes to this. Look, there's the 3 of Swords. So I feel like there's a lot of love in this situation. We have the 7 of Wands in reverse. Someone is wanting to put down their, wow. Ooh. Okay. Someone's wanting to put their guard down. I think they're wanting to drop their defenses. They recognize that they are being defensive, or that there's something that's coming up in them that's like a, it's a cycle. Okay, it's a defense mechanism. They recognize this and they don't want to do it anymore. I feel like this is someone who wants to be really vulnerable. I'm like getting kind of emotional right now. And then you have the King of Pentacles coming out. So this is someone who wants to give to you. They want to be stable for you. They care about you a lot. They recognize that what they've done with this King of Wands in reverse energy and the Judgment card, 10 of Swords, they recognize what they've done. They're not stupid. I think that they recognize that they didn't handle the situation correctly. Whew, we have a lot of things coming out in reverse, but then we have the Ace of Wands underneath, King of Swords in reverse, Knight of Swords in reverse, Empress in reverse. And I feel like they recognize that what they've done has really had a negative impact on you. And I think that they feel really guilty about that. And I think that they are High Priestess. I feel like they're trying to trust their intuition. Their intuition here is that they have to make this right somehow. And they want to come towards you. They want to give you all this love. But then the Hermit just came out. Ooh, ooh. Okay. But this could be your energy right now, where you're just kind of like, yeah, leave me alone. And then they have the King of Cups coming out in reverse. It's like they're oscillating. Three of Swords in reverse and the Knight of Cups. They're hoping that if they come towards you with this kind of energy, that it's going to turn things around. That it's going to heal the situation and they can make things better. But again, the Wheel of Fortune is still in reverse at the bottom of the deck. I feel like this is a down cycle for you, for both of you. Eight of Wands in reverse. The communication is at a stalemate. There's no more communicating going on here. And I think part of this is like this person is maybe letting their walls down, even just to themselves, you know, like they're recognizing like their patterns. They recognize that there's something that has really, oh, this is sweet. So we have the Seven of Pentacles coming out and the Sun. And so what I'm feeling from this person is, this is just intuitively what I'm getting from this person. They know that if they work on this, and this could just be for themselves, if they work on this within themselves, they know that they can be happy. They know that they can be happy with themselves, that they can be happy with life, that they can be happy with another person. Doesn't have to be you, but maybe they're just recognizing that they have more work to do and they need to be more patient in relationships. They need to be more patient with themselves. They need to be willing to plant the seeds. And there's also, they're dropping seeds behind their back and the crows are eating them. It's almost like they're realizing like they're giving to situations that don't build their future. That it's not assisting them in getting them what they actually truly want, which is happiness, you know? They want to be carefree. They want to be joyful. They want to love. They want to be in connection. They also don't want to keep repeating these same cycles. They don't want to hurt people, you know. They don't want to keep showing up like this, you know. I mean, they're realizing the fruits of their they're realizing that the fruit of their labor is not necessarily the fruit that they want to harvest. They recognize that they recognize they have to change. And again, it's with so much love that I say these things. And I hope that, you know, as, you know, a viewer, that you know that, you know, I feel like this person loves you. I feel like you love this person. I feel like this person loves themselves. I feel like you love yourself. And ultimately, that is the recipe. You know? That's the recipe to growth. That's the recipe to harmony and healing and moving forward. And it's when we get stuck in our ruts and in our patterns that we move further away from love. And we move further away from what it is we actually want in life. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that y'all need to be together, okay? But that doesn't also necessarily mean that y'all can't find some way to grow from this situation. There are ways to grow. Okay. Anyway, let's keep going. So there are ways to grow, there are ways to heal, and there are ways to learn from this. And I think that that is what y'all are working on right now. I'm getting this sense that, you know, there's this desire to fix, or this desire to heal or rekindle or do something good with this situation. And I think that if both of you have that intention and you really want to make things right with one another, whatever that looks like for you, whether that's just closure or a good conversation or a friendship or, you know, coming back into union, it's just going to be different for everybody. Just do what's good for you. And the thing is too, is like, you have a right to say no. You have a right to let things go if that's not serving you. And you also have the opportunity to decide, you know, that's your choice. You have the Knight of Swords in reverse, and you have the Four of Cups in reverse. So I feel like this person is not saying anything. And I feel like they are also kind of at a point where they don't know if they want this anymore either. And then you have the Hermit. So I think this is kind of like you both are like retreating, focusing on yourself, you know? And I think that's a really good thing. I mean, to me, it feels like the right thing from where I'm standing, you know, just the energy. But I do think that there's this kind of like reconciliation, this desire for reconciliation. And maybe it's not necessarily, again, to like restart the relationship or to get back into this relationship. There's this separation happening, but it's almost like there's this desire for it to be good. You just want it to be good. Whoa, 10 of Pentacles. And the Chariot at the bottom of the deck with the High Priestess peeking out. And the Chariot. So, I mean, oh my goodness. I need to change my timeout for this computer. But it's like, I don't know. There's this part of you that's like, I don't know. You see potential, you know? 7 of Wands, but you've got your guard up, you know, because you're not gonna make the same mistakes over and over again. You're trying to make different choices in life, and you've definitely got your guard up. 9 of Pentacles. You're focusing on yourself, focusing on your bag, as you should, you know. And then you have the hanged one in reverse. So it's like, you know, you're like, I don't need a lot of time to think about this. You know what I mean? Strength in reverse. You could, again, be feeling really vulnerable, be feeling a little bit weak right now. 9 of Swords in reverse. You're like, I don't have the energy to be upset about this. I just don't. Look at that. Ace of Wands. You're like, I want to feel good. You're like, I want a brand new beginning. I want to feel passionate. I want to feel capable. You have the Devil at the bottom of the deck. You're like, I don't want to be chained to negativity. Look at that. The Chariot wanting to come out again. You're like, I want to move forward, man. You're like, this is not what I want, you know? Like, I want to feel full of life. I want to feel excited. I want to feel passionate. I want to feel capable, ready, you know? But then you have this 2 of Swords energy where it's like, you know, why? I think a part of you is frustrated where you're like, I don't know how I got into this. How did I get here? You know what I mean? Knight of Wands. Well, maybe somebody came your way and was like, hey, baby, I got a wand for you. Look at that. Ace of Pentacles. Maybe you felt like this was some sort of opportunity, some sort of, you know, offer. And, you know, you're like, wanted to give it a chance. But like Knight of Cups in reverse, I feel like maybe this person maybe lacking in the romance department, you know, like as far as like the courting process or just like the building a relationship process. Look, you got the Page of Pentacles. I mean, we were just doing a reading before where these Page and Knights were coming out in reverse and all this sort of thing. You know, I think that this person is still learning. They're still figuring out that process, what that looks like. I think that you are like, you know, I'm not saying, I think you're kind of like, I don't really want to be somebody's teacher. I don't want to teach somebody how to court me. You know what I mean? Look at that. Queen of Swords in reverse and the 9 of Swords in reverse. You're like, I just don't even have the energy for this. That's what I'm getting here. Is like, I don't have the energy for this. I don't. 4 of Pentacles. You're kind of like, I gotta be conservative, you know, with the energy that I do have, because I have other things going on. I need to maintain my household, right? Like, I need to maintain my foundation and my money and all that, you know. I'm focusing on my accomplishments. I'm focusing on my goals, like where I'm trying to go. I'm not trying to get caught up in this negative energy. I'm not trying to get caught up in this emotional turmoil. You know, you're like, you know, you're like, is it worth all this? Look at that, the Tower. I mean, something came crumbling down, right? I mean, that's the energy here, the Moon. Things that were, you know, hidden are being revealed. People's true colors, people's wounding, their negative, like their dark side, you know, whatever. And you're kind of like, look at how this is dragging me down. I feel like it's, look at that, Queen of Pentacles in reverse. You're like, I feel like this is actually lowered my vibration. And in a way, you're like, you know, you're like, I'm not going to let this lower my self-worth. You're like, but this is kind of like beneath me. You know what I mean? And it's okay to admit that without being cruel. You're not being disrespectful, you know, but you're being straight with yourself. You're like, this really is beneath me. Okay? You're like, it really is. You know, like, I'm not about to be all upset because of this. Look at that. Temperance in reverse, 5 of Pentacles in reverse, and the Emperor. You're kind of like, you know, I'm in control of my emotions. I'm in control of how I feel. You know, I'm not going to be feeling like this. You're like, I'm not going to be out of balance. What the hell? 6 of Pentacles. You're like, I got too much to give. The Lovers. You're like, I have so much love to give, and I'm not going to be feeling like this. Queen of Wands in reverse. I'm just not doing it, you know? And you're just like, honestly, I just think that you do not have the energy for this BS, if I'm being completely honest. And I don't think you should feel bad about that. I don't think you should feel like you've done anything wrong by entertaining something that maybe you knew was kind of like you could do better. Because ultimately you're like, you know, like, I could take a lover. Ace of Pentacles, you're like, I don't know, maybe. So you entertained it, and I think that ultimately you recognize, like, maybe this is not the thing for you right now or anymore. And you're kind of like, I need to get back on my game, honey. You know, you're like, I'll let you take me off my game a little bit, but I got to sit back in the throne. Papa's got to get back to work. Okay. That's how it feels. You're like, that was fun, I guess. But I got better things to do. Look at this, Page of Swords. You could be a student. You could be in school, you know, or maybe you're recognizing like this person has more to learn. 9 of Wands. You're like, damn. Okay. Took me for a ride. You know, put me in this position, you know, but I know what I want. I know what I want. I know what I'm worth. I'm not stuck. You know, I get to make my own decisions. I'm in charge of how I feel. And I feel like ultimately some negative energy came in and kind of like fucked this shit up. Excuse my language. It fucked things up a little bit. You got the Wheel of Fortune reverse, 4 of Wands in reverse, and the Devil. So ultimately, I just think maybe you don't have the energy to entertain it. I don't think you have the energy to, you know, make things better necessarily. You don't have the energy to hold someone's hand and make them figure out how to treat you. You know, there's just a sense of like defeat here is what I'm getting. A little bit of defeat. But the thing is everything is an opportunity to learn. And maybe what you're learning is, you know, like, you are a powerhouse. You're very valuable. You're very capable. But you got to be careful who you give your energy to, because that energy could feel, I mean, that energy could ultimately be put somewhere more productive. And maybe you're like, you know, this just drained me. I feel drained. And now I need to just focus on myself. Look, I surrender to a power. Maybe there's a purpose there. 2 cards wanting to come out. I surrender to a power greater than me. Thank you, universe, for helping me see beyond the limits of fear. Thank you for expanding my perception so I can see what is of the highest good. So again, trying to find love in a situation. The more energy and intention I bring to my faith, the more fearless and free I am. So for those of you out there who resonate, just, you know, be kind to yourself in this situation and recognize that love is the highest form of expression, and that also includes loving yourself, and loving yourself enough to know when to walk away, loving yourself enough to know to recognize other people's struggles and recognize if you've got the time or energy for them, and to recognize that, you know, we're all in this life, we're all, you know, here to, I don't know, live, learn, grow, love. You know, it's not easy, but what are you gonna do? So anyway, bye.